What y'all think about Bad Bunny? What y'all think about his halftime performance? I didn't know Bad Bunny at all, like a year ago. Like I was like, what's a Bad Bunny? Is that like I know Bugs Bunny. What's a good bunny? I know the Easter Bunny. I don't know any men. I knew a lady named Bunny. She was my friend's mama, and she was a very nice lady. So I never knew Bunny as the name of a man, and I was like. Is that like a cute furry little bunny? Like, wait, what does Bad Bunny mean when a man calls himself Bad Bunny? But you know what? I'm not judging. I'm not judging, right? And so I looked it up, and he's really committed to Puerto Rico, which I think is really cool. I like that about him. I like the fact that this guy is like really into his people. Imagine that. Imagine that having like somebody like an entertainer that actually cares more about his people than he cares about trying to fit in and sell out and and rap about like murdering other black people. I don't know. Just I'm being sarcastic. But seriously though, like I kind of like that. But I ain't gonna lie, I didn't watch the whole halftime show. I watched it on mute because I didn't feel like it was for me. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, everything's in Spanish. I failed Spanish class, so now I'm screwed. I'm trying to get the vibe. I didn't get it because it's not, black barbecue, family cookout vibes. We know that energy. I don't know Bad Bunny and Puerto Rico energy. I just don't. But I have friends from Puerto Rico that I love and respect a lot, and they're deeply rooted in black culture. In fact, both of them are married to black people. So there's a connection there, right? And there's a respect there. So I was like, and plus on top of that, I mean, think about it. The Super Bowl halftime show, every year there's a black person performing damn near. And you know we kind of dominate in that area. Like ain't nobody touching us. So it's like, okay, let's give somebody else a chance. So anyways, but I did not watch the halftime show because it wasn't my jam, right? But Bad Bunny is a cool dude, and I didn't go watch Kid Rock. I think the Republicans like were like, we're gonna get Kid Rock, and I'm like, oh God, that's even worse. I'd rather be a Bad Bunny than be a Kid Rock. Why does everybody want to be kids and bunnies? Wait, what the hell? What's up with that, man? Why not lions and grown men? Like, where those days come from? Anyway, I'm being stupid. All right, so let's dive into some stuff happening in the world today. First off, you guys may or may not know this. I'll share this information with you. As you trade your stocks this week, be really mindful of sort of position protecting your positions because was it Goldman Sachs or JP? It wasn't Goldman Sachs. It was somebody else that made a warning that algorithmic trading could actually cause stock prices to really plunge if they hit below certain levels. Because what happens is a lot of the activity on the stock market is driven by algorithms. These are computers. It's AI. It's not human beings making a lot of these decisions. And sometimes these algorithms can cause market crashes. So you want to just sort of be mindful of that. Or they can exacerbate market crashes, which really actually if you're a long-term investor, can exacerbate your money making opportunity. I yesterday I had a great opportunity. I'm in DC, not DC, well, kind of DC. Bowie, is it Bowie or Bowie? Tell me if I'm gonna call it Bowie, but it's probably Bowie. I don't know. Anyway, I'm in Bowie because I'm speaking tomorrow at Bowie State University. I'll give you guys the information if you guys want to join. And I met a really awesome black family down in the lobby. Just literally started talking to this lady about something about the Wi-Fi, and it turned out that she works at Tuskegee, which is where our middle child attends school. Tuskegee, just an amazing institution, amazing. Their president, oh my God, just love that school. My wife's father taught at Tuskegee for 30 years. He was a social work professor, and my wife was born in the Tuskegee Hospital, so we had a lot to talk about. And then her dad comes along. I started talking to her dad for a while, and I didn't know much about him, but he was a great guy. His name was Travis, and he and his wife. This is the power of like family and marriage and wealth. He said he and his wife both have businesses, and without telling all his business, let me just say they defy the myth that all black people are poor. But if you go to DC, you got a lot of black folks like that are doing really well, and it's really beautiful to see. And we just talked a lot about a lot of things in terms of of making financial decisions. And he had a strong interest in the stock market, and he owned a lot of stock, and that led me to kind of share some things in terms of supporting and helping what he was trying to do. In fact, I want to do more of these. I kind of like these live investing conversations with like real people in the real room. So I'm going to actually do some stuff in Atlanta soon. I'll let you guys know when we do stuff, and we can get together and talk about stocks. And one of the things that I remember processing as we were telling each other stories and whatnot is risk, right? And a lot of these stocks that many people became accustomed to picking up during 2021 when the market was on fire, they're really at risk of getting hammered, right? If there's like a really deep decline, a deep recession or something, it can really go bad. And so one of the things that I don't understand that people don't sort of embrace more is put options. You know, owning something, getting some insurance on your stock, right? I say, look, when the stock is doing really well, that's your opportunity to buy really cheap insurance on the stock. I said, think about it. If you buy a business, you're going to get insurance on your building. If you get a house, you're going to get insurance on your home. If you buy a car, you have to have auto insurance. So you have life insurance. You have health insurance. Well, everybody should embrace the idea of stock insurance. Am I crazy? Am I what y'all think? Am I just talking crazy right now? Or do you want to just like hope that if you're enough of a prayer warrior and that if you ask Jesus enough times that your stock won't ever possibly go down? See, that's the thing about insurance, and which comes in the form of put options is you can insure against any risk, right? You can protect yourself against anything. So here's the deal. Let me just give you a little game right quick. If you want if you start winning, right? Everybody in here, you ever know that feeling when you win and then you lose what you won and then you're kind of mad about it? Anybody go through that and you're like, ah, damn, it used to be good and now it's bad, and I should have got out while the getting's good. Well, if you ever have felt that way, then what you should know is awareness. This is a financial consciousness exercise. Next time when the getting gets good, go ahead and make a little bit of a sacrifice. Make a little bit, give a little bit of that money back. And what I mean is, you make $10,000, you're ecstatic. Take about 500 to 1,000 of that 10,000 and put it into insurance for your stock. So that way the party can keep going and you ain't got to worry about a collapse on you. If you get a put option, what it does is it gives you a floor basically. You pick what they call a strike price and you own the put, and if it goes below that strike price, somebody has to buy your stock at that price. They've made that commitment to you, right? Someone sold that to you, right? When you buy a put, someone has to sell it to you. So someone took income to say, hey, yo, I got you. If your stock crashes, I got you back, homie. Don't worry about it, right? So that's great, right? That's a get out of jail free card, right? I mean, why wouldn't we do that, right? But what I find is that when I talk to a lot of our folks is that there's an extraordinary um, lack of understanding of how these things can work. I think the best thing that any kid can learn how to do is stock options and understand it from a like risk management standpoint, from an income generation standpoint. I've never seen a better income generator than stock options, right? And so ultimately, there's a lot out there. Don't feel like you always have to take penitentiary chances on your stock, especially if you own a lot of these sketchy stocks. Some of these like quantum computing stocks, you might go through a quantum winter where your quantum stock drops 90% and stays there for the next 10 years. That sucks. Why do that to yourself, right? Just why not go ahead and just go ahead and bite the bullet. You know, made enough money. Remember, the two emotions that get you in trouble in investing are fear and greed. Don't never forget that. Protect yourself from those two emotions. That means balance. This is why I call this class financial consciousness, because so many of these things are about mindfulness and focus. In fact, I was telling my new buddy Travis, because I met him in the lobby. But he's a great guy, man. Smart brother. Just I mean, like computer scientist type. Like just we're a couple of nerds. But he's well, I'm gonna own it. I'm a nerd. He's a Kappa, so I don't think Kappas are nerds though. And but he's a great guy. And one thing that I would say is, um, oh gosh, I was gonna see. my ADHD kicked in. I was about to say something else, and then I started talking about him being my best friend, him being a Kappa, and then now I don't even know where I started at. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the topic I really want to talk about. First thing I want to mention is I really had one more really interesting thing to say, but now it's gone, and I don't know if I can get it back. But let me let you guys know if you happen to be in the Maryland area, there is an event that I'm speaking at, and I want to make sure I tell everybody in case you live near Bowie and or Bowie and you want to come by. And let me show you. It's on my Instagram right now, and it's is it somebody? So it's Bowie. Okay, so boo. All right, Bowie. All right, so it's good. So I'm gonna start calling it Bowie. Thank you for that. All right, so yeah, this is called I respectfully disagree. And the interesting individuals that I'm going to be on the panel with are Etan Thomas, who played for the Washington Wizards. He's a great guy, super smart. He's really big, 6'8", 250 pounds. He's a big dude, and his brain is just as big as his body, and and his heart is as big as his brain and his body, and that's why I love this guy. And so he's going to be on the panel. And then there's another brother I look forward to meeting named Torrey Smith, who was a Super Bowl champion. He played wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens. And then there's me, the guy who couldn't even stay on the high school football team. I was captain of my track team, but we didn't even have a good track team, so I can't athletically compete with these guys. So maybe I'm bringing some intellectual muscle or something. I don't know. Anyway, and Lou Holder, who's an Emmy award-winning broadcaster. He has an extensive resume. He looks like he's really great at what he does. I look forward to meeting these guys. So this is going to be at Bowie State, and it's called "I Respectfully Disagree: A Conversation on Civil Discourse." And I like that idea a lot because I don't know about anybody else, but I kind of fantasize about a world where people can talk about stuff and disagree and not want to beat each other up, kill each other, cut each other off, block each other on Facebook, talk about each other's mama. I just don't like that. I think that I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. Like bring your extremist views if you want to. I'm gonna listen to you. Like I want to understand why you feel that way because chances are when somebody feels strongly about something, it's because they had an experience, right? And that experience shaped their worldview. And and then I've also learned that people are different in terms of their emotional disposition, their life experience. Like a 50-year-old ain't gonna have the same opinions as a 20-year-old. When I was 20, I was in fact when I was 25, I wrote an article called All well I didn't pick the title, but they picked it. I didn't fight it too much. And it said all Republicans are racist, guilty by association. Now the editor picked that title because he was a Republican and he was up here trying to do some propaganda and basically try to make me look like a crazy black man. I never said that. But I didn't necessarily think the title was like all that offensive. I'm like, yeah, y'all are racist, right? And it doesn't mean I don't think that they can't be racist for sure. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens that's very disturbing, but I've also seen the nuance since then. Like since that time, I've been like, you're a Democrat and you're kind of racist. And then I went to New York. I went to Syracuse and I was on the faculty at Syracuse. I'm like, I'm with my liberal friends, my liberal allies. I'm like, ooh, y'all, some of y'all need to get up out of here, right? Or then you go south, and what happens? You go south, and you meet some of the most wonderful people you've ever met. Some of them, of course, are the gun-toting hillbillies that want to kill black people on the weekends. Maybe I don't know, but I don't meet those people most of the time when I go south. White or black, I just meet kind people who will have a conversation with you, who have value systems that are rooted in family and decency and hard work and integrity. And these are things I can relate to. So I enjoy those conversations, not the whole like you're a Democrat, so you're crazy, or you're a Republican, so you're stupid. I just don't like that, right? So I was happy to participate in this with Eton, and Eton and I, if you listen to us talk, you'll hear a lot of areas where our opinions are different, but we've had a great friendship for all those years. So I look forward to learning more so than just and maybe doing a little bit of teaching. Who knows? Maybe I can offer something too. So anyway, if you want to go, the information's on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. It'll be today at Bowie State. Now, another thing I wanted to mention, what that was really interesting from an economic standpoint is that I don't know if y'all know this. There's apparently the AI are starting to hire. They're literally setting things up where AI can hire humans now. Did y'all know that? They're literally AI, and it makes sense. It makes perfect sense now that I think about it. So there's a website called Rent a Human, and on Rent a Human, literally like the AI can hire humans to do things that AI can't do. So it's really fascinating. Um, and so So ultimately, basically, if you think about it like this, it makes perfect sense because if you know anything about agentic AI, which if you join our AI Empire Society, that's our AI group, AIEmpireSociety.com. Feel free to go to AIEmpireSociety.com. You'll know that agents are the thing now. Like that's the conversation that's being had. Now AI is kind of evolving a little bit. It's a massive money machine. That's why I think investing in AI is incredibly important. And you'll know that agents are, a big deal. And a lot of times, agents can do tasks for you, but they have to have access to this thing called an API. And an API, I'm not a computer science expert, but the API kind of helps the different softwares talk to each other, and they're able to do, these different things like webhooks and stuff, where basically they just walk up to the software, knock on the door, and say, "Hey, I got some data for you," or "Hey, I'm here to pick up the information about the such and such," or whatever. And so ultimately, what happens is if you want your agent to go talk to your software, then it'll go through the API. So that makes sense, right? So what basically the argument could be is that you can also have APIs for humans to some extent, right? If the agent needs something done by a human, then it can say, okay, well, how do I communicate with this thing called a human and get this human to do things that I can't do? Because I'm very smart. I know how the world works. I just can't, I don't have arms and legs. And so the AI can go out and hire on this site, rentahuman.ai, and hire people to do things that AI can't do. Like I made a list of some things human beings or humans can't can do that because humans matter. Humans, you matter. You're important. Physical interaction with the real world, basically. AI can decide what to do, but they can't like pick up the keys or unlock the door or drive a car, carry packages, fix a leak, move objects in unpredictable environments, right? So you want your roof fixed, and you tell the AI, "Hey, I need my roof fixed." Well, the AI can't do it, but the AI can go out and find a person that'll do it. So humans are they're kind of being seen. If you know anything about logistics, there's something called the last mile problem. And the last mile problem is one of the biggest problems in all of logistics. And, Amazon had to spend billions of dollars solving the last mile problem. They're like, okay, we know how to get okay, somebody said turn my volume up. Am I loud enough? Can y'all hear me? Let me know if you can hear me okay. Give me a yes. Am I low? Am I loud? Am I clear enough? Can you hear me good? Okay, if you can hear me good, then give me. Okay, I see a lot of yeses, and I'm so sorry to the person who can't hear me. You got to turn your volume up. Don't be blaming it on me. It's your fault. You got the banana in the tailpipe. It ain't me. It's you. Turn your volume up. All right. Always trying to blame the black man. People try to blame the black man for everything. Anyway, I'm playing. All right. So yeah. So the last mile problem. All right. So the last mile problem is something where they're like, okay, we can get this package all the way from Singapore to Detroit, but there's that last mile of like who's going to actually drive it to the house and find the person and give them the package. So this rent a human concept is going to grow. It's going to and what it is a reflection of as well is that we're moving toward a gig-ish economy where you don't make all your money in one job where you're getting a consistent amount of pay no matter what. That is risky for you and it's risky for the person paying you, meaning that they have to pay you no matter what, even if you're doing nothing. And then it's risky for you because if you lose that job, then you have no stream of income. So what's happened is the world's being forced into a bit more entrepreneurship in the sense that you don't make all your money in one place. You're going to make it from multiple places. And to some extent, if you understand how that works and you get in there and you are being, what's the word, productive or innovative with it, you can actually make more money than you've ever made before, have more flexibility than you've ever had, and have more free time than you've ever dreamed of. The downside, though, is that that security isn't always there, right? So this is why that long-term investing strategy becomes so important. You have to invest like your life depended on it because that is your lifeboat. That's your financial lifeboat if things ever get hard. And the hard part about building a financial lifeboat is that it does take a few years of consistent commitment to do it. You can't, it's like staying healthy. You can't go to the doctor after you've been smoking for 40 years and then say, I need you to make me healthy next week. No, you're 400 pounds and your lungs are black. The doctor doesn't know what to do. So what we do is, the goal is to learn these things early, and if you learn them early, then it goes a long way. And so also, what the AI also has is AI can't generate the same trust that a human can generate. I was talking actually to Erica, who is the daughter of Travis. See, this I mean, when I meet you all, it comes up, and I'm like, "Oh, this is something we're talking about." And I talked to her, and I remember her explaining, like, she said, "Well, with her job at Tuskegee, she said the AI can't get on the phone and talk to a donor or a fundraiser and generate the same trust that a human being can." And that's true. That's true. A lot of people. They want to feel special. They want to feel heard. They don't want to feel like you just got a robot to talk to them, right? So you can balance the two, right? So relationships matter. And so all these things that we talk about as wealth building strategies like relationships or maybe communication skills or whatever the case may be, that's not going to go away. That ability to kind of talk to a person and get to know them and become friends, that drives a lot of business. In fact, and I think Travis, the guy I met the other day who's done quite well in business, one thing he mentioned was, he said, yeah, he said, biggest thing my mentor ever taught me is it's not what you know, it's who you know. And so he said, my goal is to meet people and get into the room and form relationships. And that'll do more for your business than any business degree or whatever it can do. And it's important for you to make sure your kids know that, so they don't think that because they went to some white man's institution and got a piece of paper, that people are automatically going to deem them qualified or want to give them money or give them opportunities. You got to show up as a human being. You got to provide some value, and as well as something that makes people feel comfortable, that before they start giving you big money, right? So that's something big. George Fraser, Dr. George Fraser is a leading expert in this area. So I encourage everybody to take a look at his book. It's called Success Runs in Our Race. And Dr. George C. Fraser is just a great, he's a great guy too. You talk to him, no matter who you are, he knows how to make you feel heard and seen and loved and everything else. And the first thing he always says is, "I love you," and he'll start giving you compliments, and I'll be like, "Oh, stop it, George! You better quit. You better stop that." Anyway, so I love this guy though. I have a lot of respect for him. He comes to the convention a lot. He'll probably be at the convention this year. I got to ask him. I haven't checked his schedule yet, but yeah, if you want to meet him in person, feel free to come to the convention. Allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. That's the URL for the big convention. Now, let's do a little field trip to Instagram. I want to show you guys some stuff that was kind of on my brain this week, from a financial standpoint, in terms of things happening in the world that I think are worth sort of considering. These are economically related, but also uh, sort of culture and economics. So like everybody's talking about the Epstein files, and you've seen that stuff, right? All the ratchetness. And this, to me, that's like a white people issue. Like black people ain't. The only black person I know about in the Epstein files was Chris Tucker, and I don't. But he went mainstream, so he ain't doing Def Comedy Jam no more, whatever. But yeah, when they talking about, did you see that where they were talking about things like blood sacrifices and stuff, and it's actually making you wonder if it's real, and it made me think about hip hop and how they made billions of dollars by doing blood sacrifice, what could be called blood sacrifices with our children, right? If you look at incarceration, trauma, broken families, early death, everything that they rapped about, like to me, that if you talk about blood sacrifices, like I mean, I feel that our whole culture was sacrificed. Like we were just, our children were traumatized, and it angers me. It just makes me so mad. And let me just say this: I talked to a lady, that was in Hollywood for a long time, and I'm not gonna say her name because she may not want me to share what we talked about, or she may not want me to share her name. But I asked her because she knows she was married to one of these A-lister Hollywood actors or whatever, and I said, so in Hollywood, is that real? Like these sacrifices and everything else, is that a real thing? And she said, yeah. She said she said that's one of the reasons why I did not get opportunities after she made a really big movie. If I said the movie, you'd know exactly what movie it is. And she said after I did that movie, I was getting all these opportunities, but I was asked to do things I'm not willing to do, right? And she said, and then I would just see things that just, she said, I'm a strong Christian woman, and it just really shook my soul, and I wanted no parts of it. And so, so I was thinking about that. I said, "Oh, I get it. Okay, so if you did believe this idea, because I assume that there are some people out there that are crazy enough to like worship the devil or something. That's real, right? There are satanic people, and I'm like, I guess if you're Satan, you probably don't want happiness, happy black children and sunshine. You probably want violence and all the like vices, the addiction and the gluttony and the greed and the evil and everything else. So, what better place to do that than through hip hop music, where you rap about sexual irresponsibility, spreading disease, killing each other, chasing money over everything, right? Incarceration, abuse, addiction, torture, all these other horrible things that happen. So, that was just a random thought. All right, now let me share something else. Now, you guys know the other day we did a conversation, a deep dive on Floyd Mayweather and what was going on with him. And I think and you can go back and watch that conversation if you want. I would argue that with Mayweather, I don't think he's broke. I think that there could be a liquidity problem, and that's really important to know when it comes to your wealth. Is it's not just enough to stay rich. You got to stay liquid. Liquid is important. So in fact, our mastermind is called the Wealth and Income Network, WIN, WIN. And the reason and where that name came from was I said those are the two things that you need in order to be financially solid. You have to have wealth, which is financial security. It's a financial backbone that protects you in bad times, and you have to have income, which allows you to handle short-term financial needs. And so you got to you got to handle the short-term stuff and the long-term stuff. Just like on a football team, they have some players that can block on the offensive line and provide security, but then they have the wide receivers who can sprint down the field. They may not be very strong, but they're very fast. So ultimately, you have to have different gears of your wealth and your economics. So there are a lot of people who struggle financially, not because they're broke, but because the timing is off. The timing is off. Their money just isn't arriving when it needs to arrive. Like, have you ever had that time where you had a bill coming up and it was due in 3 days, but your money didn't arrive for another 10 days and you were pissed? Like, you were like, I wish I had a time machine so I could like get my money now. Well, and that's the beauty of financial markets and this is what will lead to black prosperity is if we have access to financial markets, you have access to a financial time machine. And what that means is that you can look at long-term value and translate that into short-term possibility. Right? You can say, hey, look, I don't have this money now, but I'm gonna have it in a year. Somebody will say, okay, bet. We're gonna do a formula and you're gonna get $1 million in a year. All right, well, I'll give you $900,000 now, and that will allow you to have your money sooner. And it allows me to get a return on investment because we're trading, right? Maybe I'm a long-term investor. I don't need my money now. I'm willing to wait. Well, you need your money now, so I'll compensate you for time. There's ways to kind of factor that. One is called the pay what was it it was called either the impatience parameter or the patience parameter, one of the two. And all that means is that you get compensated for the fact that you can't access your money for a year and the other person's happy to compensate you because they can get their money sooner. And so really literally just the access to markets would increase if black people had access to financial markets. That would increase black wealth by about 5 to 10 trillion dollars, just like that. Just like that. If we have full access to financial markets, what does that mean? That means, imagine you are a 23-year-old college student and you don't have any money, but you got a lot of potential. You're a hardworking person, you made good grades, you're about to get a good job. So over the course of your career, you're going to make $5 million or $2 million or something like that. Well, access to a market would mean that somebody could calculate that and say, okay, well, we'll break you off something now because you got money coming in, right? Now that's idealistic, that's kind of theoretical, that's a fantasy, but really, when you hear about people like Elon Musk being worth $700 billion, it's not from income or money that he's earned up until this point. It's not, he doesn't have $700 billion worth of anything. But what he does have is he has access to markets which value his expected future earning potential. And the expectation may actually be wrong. He may never earn enough money to justify that, but that's what the market has come up with, and and he can cash in on that, right? So imagine if you could just cash in on your future, or imagine if every black child with a great idea, could go get, $1 million to pursue that idea, right? How beautiful would that be? Like, think about how much black wealth would be created from that. Or imagine if every black person who pays rent on time every month could go get a house with a mortgage payment that is equal to or less than their rent. Think about how much wealth will be created just from that. Just if somebody just said this. Now this is more practical, right? So imagine if um every black person who pays their rent on time. Like, in fact, how many of you paid rent before? Anybody in here paid rent? Maybe you're still paying rent. And then also, give me a double yes if you pay your rent on time. How many of you have ever paid a bill or paid rent, let's say something like rent, and paid it consistently on time, right? Most of you probably have, because y'all look like y'all the Negroes with good credit. A lot of y'all. I've looked at your survey data. I'm playing, and some of you are working on it. That's okay though. Just know that this is what we want. We want financial responsibility up in here, right? So you paid rent, you paid on time. So imagine if the world was fair, which it should be. Like imagine if true equality actually existed. Equality should be economic, not social. I don't care if white people like me or not. It's like, no, give me access to what you got. Stop telling me you like me and show me that you like me. Love is an action. Love is not a word. It's not a feeling. It's not a I got you, bro. No, it's like, no, show me, damn it. Give me access to financial markets and then I'll believe you. Then I'll believe you're a true ally. Okay. So my point is to say, so imagine if somebody really wanted to do the right thing and they said, okay, anybody who's paid rent on time for 5 years, we'll give you a mortgage so you can go buy a house. So you're not just, dumping your money into the landlord's family and in his pocket, right? Black wealth would just skyrocket just from that one move alone, right? So if you ever think about it, if you ever get a chance to sit down with an important politician, some of you are very important people. I know this. I meet some of you. You're doing amazing things. You sit down with an important politician or let's say a billionaire who says, I want to do something good for the black community. Let's build a basketball court. Just interrupt him and say, okay, we got enough basketball courts, but here's what you can do. Okay? Right? So one thing you could suggest is you could say, hey, look, how about every person that can show that they've been paying rent consistently on time, you help them get a house, you help them get property. Or every person who proves that they can run a solid business, you help them get financing. Or everybody that is running a solid business right now that needs cash flow, you help them get a line of credit. Help those small business owners have $100,000 that they can access when they need it so they don't have to go out of business because they have a short-term cash flow problem. That would do wonders for the black community. Do you understand how many trillions in wealth would be created? Check it out. China. Let me give you an example. China. Do you know one of the biggest catalysts for China's economic elevation? It literally China sucked when it came to money. Like economically, they were garbage. They were like the last. They were like the team that's last place in the league every year, and they were like that for like 100 years. They were a joke. They were an absolute joke. Do you know one of the biggest catalysts of helping China become China, the dragon China? You know what it was? It was access to markets. I think when they let them in the World Trade Organization, they're like, okay, come on in, dog. We can, you can hang out with us, and we'll give you access to financing and infrastructure and trade and all these things that markets, all these things that black men in particular get marginalized from. Black people in general, black men really, your black son is kind of marginalized from a lot of this. When you bring people into an economic ecosystem, their condition automatically elevates. Think about it like being invited into the Millionaires Club. If you get invited into the Millionaires Club, then your odds of becoming a millionaire suddenly skyrocketed by about 300%. Right? Because what you have when you have access to markets, it just allows you to extract value. It creates what in finance we might refer to as price discovery. People find out your true worth because they have access to the information regarding what your value is. Think about how many smart black kids there are who can't even get the money they need to fund their ideas. Think about this. I remember when I was 21, I did everything right. I wouldn't, I was scared too. I'm gonna tell you, I grew up as a traumatized young black male. It was in the early 90s, and I had seen a lot of problems. Like my best friend Greg got shot in the head when he was 25. Best friend. I was gonna be at his house that night when he got shot in the head. I saw good people get into bad situations. Maybe they were in the car and somebody had drugs and they would go to prison for 10 years. And prison, it has always been allowed to be such a terrible place that you don't even want to be in prison for 10 minutes. Something can happen in 10 minutes that would traumatize you for the rest of your life, right? And harm you for the right. And so I remember just really scared, like, okay, there's certain things I can't do as a black man that other people can do. Like the white kids can go get drunk on the weekends, but I can't do that because my consequences are very real. That actually drove me to write my book, What If George Bush Were a Black Man? I wrote that in 2004 because I said, gosh, when you're a black man, you just kind of have a really thin margin of error, and it's very easy to make one little mistake that can cost you your life cost you 40 years of incarceration. Right? Think about how many guys get shot in the club because you stepped on somebody's foot, or you start dating a girl and you don't know that she's the drug dealer's baby mama, and or you're in the car with somebody and the police pull you over and he's got something on him, or somebody's shooting at the car and they don't, and you're in the car, right? Just crazy stuff, right? Just it's just crazy, right? And for whatever reason, like nobody addresses this, and it makes me that boils that boils my blood. It makes me so mad that we don't pay attention to this. But anyway, I remember that because of this, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay focused. You're not, you ain't getting no chance to lock me up. You ain't getting no chance to kill me. You ain't getting no chance. I didn't go to the club. I would be in the library. I didn't go run in the streets. I was in the books. I was really, really focused. So as a result of that, I did really well in college. I had the highest grade point average of all the black students on the campus, and I had a triple major, and I could have graduated in 3 years, 2.5 years actually. I just got lazy toward the end and decided I wanted to take 4 years. But in those 4 years, I almost got three bachelor's degrees. I had two, and I had like one more class I could have taken to get a third bachelor's degree, but I had a triple major, right? So I did all the things, right? Um, and I wanted a job on Wall Street really bad. At that time, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be on Wall Street. It was that coming out of the 80s, and I'd read all the stories. I read a book called Barbarians of the Gate at the Gate, which was about Colbert, Kravis, Roberts, and this leverage buyout. And it just seemed really exciting. And even back then, Donald Trump wasn't seen as the political animal that he is now. He's associated with politics and immigration, all that. Back then, he was just the rich guy that was killing it on Wall Street and real estate and all that. No one, he wasn't politicized yet. So I wanted to be in on that, right? But I was a little boy in Kentucky who, had straight A's but didn't know what to do. I had no mentors, no connects, nobody. I didn't know anybody, right? So what I did was I had this grand idea to send my resume to 250 Wall Street firms. I looked up their addresses. Back then, you had to do stuff the hard way. You didn't have no internet and all that. I looked up their addresses, and each of these firms, I took my resume, put it in an envelope, sent it to all these firms. And I'm thinking maybe somebody will say, "Gosh, look at this kid. He's really doing the right thing." Because back then I believed the myth. The myth was that black people will get opportunities as long as they're qualified, right? I thought that that was true, and literally I sent out the 250 resumes, and I got like 250 rejection letters. Right? At least they took the time to say like, no, we don't even know you, dog. Get out of here. Now back then I didn't know the basics, like knowing people makes a difference. But also I remember just saying, gosh, if people only knew what I could do, how dedicated I am, how focused I am, how hardworking I am, then they would give me this opportunity, right? They would see my value. And that's the thing that becomes very frustrating, I think, for a lot of our people. And I think it's bad. What's really bad for our kids is not just that the world doesn't see their value. What's really bad for our kids is I don't even think their own people see their value. That's the real crime. The real crime is not just that the white man don't see your value. It's that your damn family members can't see your value. So when you're talking about like what it means to elevate economically, value is something that is really in the eye of the beholder. To some extent, now mind you, you're talking to a person who specialized in something called asset pricing. That means the pricing of assets. That means seeing the value of something, seeing worth. And one thing I can tell you about value and valuation is that value really is in the eye of the beholder. If you don't see your value, then there is no value. There is no if you think you're worthless, then that's what you probably will be. And that's the crazy part. And but sometimes you see something that's completely worthless that everybody thinks has value. Did you know that 200, 300 years ago, for whatever reason, people thought tulips were really valuable. So everybody wanted to buy tulips, and it became a tulip craze. And literally people would spend as much on a freaking tulip as they would spend on a house. Who does that? That's crazy, right? But because everyone saw the value, and it was an illusion, the value was real. I could go buy a tulip for $100,000 and I could resell it for $200,000, right? Like, yeah, of course it's valuable. Look at how much money's in my bank account. But the value is subjective, and eventually people decided, oh, tulips, oh, that's right, they're just flowers, right? And the price plummets, right? So ultimately, when people no longer saw the value, then the value did not exist. So in large part, what's so fascinating about wealth and investing in money and stock prices and all that is that some of it is kind of a figment of our imagination. Or better yet, it's an object of our own construction. And so part of the reason that I didn't want to like talk about finances just from a simple, straightforward standpoint. We get to all that, but it's like no, actually, it's really almost like spiritual, psychological, and metaphysical. Right? It's like it's like those deep questions like do you see your value? Do you see your worth? Those little black babies you have, do you see the value in those kids? Do you see it? Because if you don't see it, the world ain't nobody else gonna see it. And the worst thing about being black sometimes is we're kind of trained to be followers, and a lot of times we don't see our value until other people do. Tell me if I'm lying. We don't see our worth until we get validated. The white man comes along and stamps you on the head. You employee of the month. Oh wow, I'm somebody now, right? It's like you're waking people up, waking up these sleeping bears. Like, okay, you get a Grammy award. Oh look, Mama, I made it, right? So a lot of times if you don't see your value, then you're waiting for other people to acknowledge and validate you. And the problem with that is that it leads to a tremendous amount of exploitation because you don't really want to give that level of power to other people anyway. So the best exercise I ever engaged in, just as a scholar, because I started thinking deeply about these things with finances. I mean, I had to go through my doctoral program. All you do is you sit around and think all day. As I said, okay, before I convince the world that I have value, I've got to really make sure I see that value. I really got to see that value. And that was not like about taking a class anymore. It wasn't about learning a new theory or reading another book. It was the knowledge, the information was in me. The knowledge was of knowledge of self. And I said, okay, boys, we can't just think the value's there. We got to know it's there. And if you know it's there, see, if you know the value's there in an asset, then you will continue to invest in that asset. See, so many people want everybody else to invest in you, but you only want to invest in yourself because you don't even know the value of yourself. You wait for other people. When other people start validating it, it's like, oh, well, I should invest in this because now it's working. No, no, no. You got to know the values there. And once you really know it, like this, it's like it really does feel like church in a way. Like once you really know it, then you're like, oh yeah, the value's there. That's why I'm investing. Like my son is valuable. He's an asset to the family, so of course we should invest in this asset, and this should be a top priority. And we gonna go down with the ship, man, because this is what we believe in. See, remember I was telling you that the only reason Bitcoin can maintain value, Bitcoin right now is under fire. Everybody's questioning Bitcoin. They're like, well, we thought it was digital gold, but gold is up and Bitcoin's crashing. We thought it could be used as currency, but who's gonna go buy some pizza with a Bitcoin? That don't even make no sense. So, so people are like, well, what's gonna happen to Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin gonna? I don't know, but let me tell you what I believe. The only thing that really gives me hope with Bitcoin, well, one of the things is you have this group of people called the hodlers, HODL, hold on for dear life. They love them some damn Bitcoin. They are in love with Bitcoin. They are willing to go down with the ship. You can't talk them out of understanding and believing in with every ounce of their body in the inherent value of Bitcoin. Oh, they like, oh no, of course Bitcoin's valuable, but you're like, but it's only clicks on a computer. Like, how's that? Oh, because Bitcoin, oh no, they can tell, they'll go through it, right? And so these are the people actually that make me want to invest in Bitcoin because they believe and they know that to the core of their soul that this thing is valuable. Now, here's the thing, they could be wrong though. The ship could go down, but these hodlers, they'll go down with the ship. They will go down with the ship. They're never going to stop investing. They're not going to sell. They're just not going to sell. Right? That's the only thing that makes me believe Bitcoin is going to last. So I think the question might be when you're talking about self-worth, which is a valuation question, like valuing yourself, knowing your worth. I think that a couple questions might be, are you willing to go down with the ship with the things that you invest in, not just yourself, but whether it's like people that you love, your spouse, your career, your business idea, your stock portfolio, right? Are you really that committed? And I would say also, it's really important to just kind of understand that. A lot of times before other people can see the value in something, you have to really see that. And so it was my ability to see my own value that led me to keep investing in me even when the rest of the world did not want to. And and that made a big difference, right? And I would also say that when I talk to people about stock investing, I always say, form your thesis. Think about why you want to invest in this stock. You're about to marry this damn thing. Or you about to, at least y'all gonna have a long-term relationship. So think about it carefully. Before you invest, you must investigate. And people don't do that. Like, that's why a lot of relationships die quickly. I joked with Travis. I said, yeah. I said I have to tell young guys. I said you got to investigate more about this woman than just the size of her booty. Like that's not you investigated her booty, but you didn't investigate her soul. So that's why you're having all these problems. But you learn that over time. And so when you do that, when you do your investigation and you become convinced of the inherent value of this asset and you have formed an inherent belief that this asset is eventually going to have value and you see that value, then you pour into that value consistently and you make a commitment. Maybe you won't necessarily go down with the ship, but you say something like, well, I will continue to invest in this stock until my thesis no longer holds or until 10 years goes by or something like that. That way I will have a clear assessment as to what's going to happen, because a lot of times we stop investing in things before the entire story unfolds. We see the first quarter of the football game and we give up when really you were going to make a major comeback in the last three quarters, right? And this happens a lot with stocks. You cannot invest in stock thinking that you're supposed to make money in 2 weeks. That don't mean nothing. 2 weeks don't mean a year doesn't mean anything actually. A year means I've seen so many examples of investments that you could have made in 2015 that you sold, maybe you sold in 2015, that if you'd held on to those investments and continued to invest in those things over the next decade, you'd be a millionaire right now. Bitcoin is one of them. Even with the decline in the price of Bitcoin, if you were a consistent investor and believer in Bitcoin, you'd be very wealthy. Most of those hodlers, those little nerdy kids that were buying thousands of Bitcoin, when it was $1 or $10 or $50, most of them are billionaires. They're just these nerdy little billionaires. And if you are fortunate enough to be one of those billionaires, oh, just a little side tip, protect your investing. Go back to what I was saying earlier about the put options. There's no reason why you should be taking penitentiary chances when you've got a ton of money in your bank account. What you do is you take a percentage of that money, 5%, and you commit that to protecting and defending the portfolio. Wealth means nothing if your wealth is not defended. So defending the wealth, it's a financial exercise, buying the insurance, it's an intellectual exercise, gaining awareness, understanding. It's an action based sort of process where you diversify, maybe whatever it is. There's lots of ways you defend what you have. Even if you talk about not losing grandma's house, you defend grandma's house by taking the time, investing the time. Time is as important of an investment as money. Investing the time and learning how to make sure that you keep up on all the taxes and the estate plans are set and all that. It probably might have took you as long to sit down and figure that out as it takes for you to sit down and have dinner with your cousins. So you have Sunday dinner every week. You sit there and you watch a football game in 2 or 3 hours. You'll hang out and talk to your girlfriends on the phone for 3 or 4 hours at a time. Why wouldn't you sit down and have a 3 hour conversation about protecting grandma's house? And you probably wouldn't even need 3 hours to do it. It might be more like 45 minutes. So I want you to think about that for a minute. I want you to think about how many times people have lost grandma's house in a way where that could have been prevented with a 45-minute conversation. Am I lying? Am I exaggerating? What y'all think? Do you think maybe an hour and a half? How about that? If I said this, how about this? Tell me if you agree with this. If every family sat down for just an hour and a half and checked through the estate plan, made sure everything, all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed, do you think that would make a difference in their wealth outcome? Do you think that, I mean, process this. Like a lot of times you don't even know. You're like, what's the password? Where's the paperwork? Like that would take long for somebody to tell you that. But now you waited. Now they're dead. They can't tell you what the combination is to the safe. But you could have been like, hey, mama, what's the combination? Can you write that down? Text it to my phone, right? Or whatever. Like, it doesn't, these are not heavy things, right? These are simple things. And I want you to ask yourself, like, what was I doing with all that time? Because there's 8,760 hours in a year. There's 87,600 hours in a decade. And if you spend 30 years with a person, you spent a quarter of a million hours with that person in your life. And that's just during adulthood. That doesn't count when you were a kid. Why not in those quarter million hours could not one of those 250,000 hours that we spent doing only God knows what have been spent just saying, okay, let me just make sure I got everything just in case something happens. Right. These are not hard things to solve. This is not a knowledge issue. This is more so a cultural issue, right? Like, what do you do with your time? It's a values-based issue. What do you value? You spend time doing things that you value. So if I value liquor, weed, and women, then I'm gonna spend my time chasing women, smoking the weed, hitting the liquor, finding the weed man, or whatever, right? If I value church, maybe you're in church. If I value work, maybe I'm working all the time, right? So ultimately, and not that all these things are sinister, it's just that maybe shifting the values, consciously shifting values toward the things that you want to see in your life will go a very long way, right? So you don't need a class to know these things. Okay. All right. Now, one thing I want to share with you, in case you don't know, is a lot of you have been asking me about investing in silver, and so what I did was I'm gonna do a deep dive, another Dr. Boyce deep dive, and I'll show you. And literally, we're just gonna go through. We're gonna spend it's tomorrow night, Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and we're literally gonna look into investing in silver, and we're gonna spend the whole time, the whole 90 minutes in private session, where I'm gonna break down everything involving silver in terms of how to manage the risk, what the expectations are, what silver, different ways that silver impacts the economy, et cetera. And you get lifetime access, and you can bring your whole family. So if you pay the fee, $89 for access to the recordings and the materials and the slides and everything else, and we do a Q&A as well. It's $89. And for that one cost, you can bring your whole family. And the other thing too is that because you're here, I will share a link in the chat where you can actually take 48% off the $89, which takes it down to 46.28. So that's going to happen Tuesday night at 8:30. I'm going to put the link in the chat. It'll link you to a page which will look like an email that I sent out, but it actually has links where you can either pay the one-time fee, or you can actually, if you do a free trial in our deep dives group, then it can be free. So it's up to you to decide if you want to take a look at that. But the link's right there in the chat, and that'll be Tuesday night at 8:30. And I've been preparing and putting everything together, and it'll be fun to kind of talk about silver. I did invest in silver, and I think that it's an interesting trade given what's going on with the dollar. The dollar's been kind of declining, so a lot of these precious metals have been hit pretty hard. But silver is kind of like a crazy cousin. Silver is, gold is the stable one. Gold is like Ice Cube and Friday, and silver is Smokey, his best friend, that would kind of go up and down, right? So that's what. So maybe Ice Cube and Smokey should both be your friends, but it's up to you to decide how to play that, right? So anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and bounce out. And by the way, if you want to join today at Bowie State, where I'm going to be speaking today with Etan Thomas from the Washington Wizards, and Torrey Smith, who played for the Ravens, etc. Feel free to go to my Instagram. The information is right there. It's going to be in this building called the it says Fine and Performing Arts Center. Oh, okay, Fine and Performing Arts. Okay, so the Fine Arts and Performing Arts Center. I think I spoke there before. I think I came to Bowie one time. They did a really cool thing. They had cheerleaders dancing in the hallway, and we got to dance with like Jennifer Hudson show where they start singing and dancing, and you start doing your moves. And I got moves, man. Shoot, don't get me started. I'll cut every rug up in here. All right. So anyway, guys, it was great to see you. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you get on the text list for this class. If you're not on the text list, you can text the word morning to the number 87948. So text morning to 87948. And also I'll text out the link as well again for the silver deep dive tomorrow. I hope you guys will join us, and bring your family, bring your kids, right? Because you want your children to start learning economics early. You do not want them to learn too late. You want them to learn it early, early, early. That's how we're going to win. All right, have a good day.